Hello, and welcome to my third video in the electronic tutorials. In this video, as the title suggests, we're going to be going over schematics. So, just to outline the progression of this video, I'm going to be going over the definition of schematics, and basically what they're used for, what they are, and then I'm going to be going over the symbols that are necessary to understand schematics, and finally I will give you some examples and I'll ask you to try to identify some schematics yourself. Alright, so let's start with the definition of schematics. So as I have written down here, schematics make circuits easier to understand. Basically, schematics are basic drawings with symbols, and you're going to have to memorize the symbols as we progress through the video. While schematics are basic drawings, they actually have a very important nature in the world of electronics. And essentially they are diagrams of circuits that make the circuit easier to understand and easier to build or find places to replace. So I'm going to show you an example that I have here. In this one, you can see that the symbols are also paired up with a word describing them, like we have the battery symbol. Let me add another layer on top so you can see. So as you can see, we have a battery symbol with the word battery. As you can see, we have a switch with the word switch, and we have a light bulb with the word light bulb. So these symbols are going to be without words in the official circuit diagrams or schematics, but over here, just to make it easier, I have these words with. So besides these symbols, you can see a bunch of lines connecting them. This actually represents the wires of a circuit. So you can see that this is a circuit diagram. To understand more schematics, you're going to have to memorize the symbols, and we're going to be going over the symbols right now. So here I have some basic ones. Like the first one I mentioned is a switch, and in a switch you'll see two lines with an opening, kind of like a switch. And one side has a contact and one side is a pole. Don't worry about these terms, we're going to be going over them later in the next video. Underneath that we see two wires being connected by a point, that's an electrical connection. And beside that you see another wire that is basically being intersected. And this represents no connection. This is the wire I was talking about. Underneath that we have these two symbols. And I forgot to mention, but I might as well as right now, but some symbols can be interchanged with others. There are many symbols for a specific term, so like switch has quite a few, and so does the negative side of power. So as you can see here, we have two symbols, and these both represent the negative side of the power of the circuit. Now, in addition to these four, there are many more symbols, and I'm going to be going over those as well. So as you can see here, the first one we have is a resistor. It's a squiggly line basically, and you'll have a number underneath, which basically represents the number of resistance, typically in ohms. So this is a 220 ohm resistor. And then underneath that we have a squiggly line, but then we have an arrow pointing towards it, and this basically represents a potentiometer as stated next to it. Underneath that we see a push button switch. So as I mentioned before, a switch has many different symbols. This is one other symbol, but it's more specifically for the push button, which we'll be going over in future videos. Let's go on to some other symbols. So these are more common ones. This is the symbol for a battery. And then underneath that we have a light bulb, which I showed you before in the example. And then beside that there's the LED symbol, which is an arrow pointing downwards with two arrows. Now of course there are many symbols that I haven't gone over, as I can't go over every single one. But these are some of the most common ones, and these are the ones you're going to be seeing in my future videos as well. And if you notice any symbol that you haven't seen, I'll typically mention it. So let's go on to an example, or basically something for you to try. So I have a diagram here that I drew. So you can pause the video right now and kind of identify each part. Um, yeah, so pause the video right now and that'll help you. Alright, so now that you paused it and came back, let's go over the individual parts. So I'm going to add another layer so I can draw it again. And the top here we see we have a light bulb, so hopefully you got that right. On the side we have a resistor. Now this doesn't have the numerical value next to it, but I left that out in my video. And underneath that we have the symbol for a battery. And this is connected by the line, so it shows a circuit, and this is a basic example of a schematic. Well, that's it for this video. So just to give you a basic overview of what we went over the definition of a schematic, and we went over some symbols that are going to be seen commonly throughout many books and many videos as well. And finally we ended it with an example. So if you have any questions, again, leave it in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, comment on the website. Really appreciate everything. Thanks for watching, and hopefully the next video is more understandable. Thank you.